for supporting me on Patreon. It means so much to me. Hey, welcome back, or welcome if you are new to my channel. I am here today on another day that is not my regular Sunday uploading days, since it is the last day of 2024 today. So this is a little special New Year's video that I hope you will enjoy this last moments of a really awful year for me. I think it's good to quit on a good end. I am so very grateful for all the nice and supportive comments I got on the video I uploaded on Christmas. I uploaded this Chaos Demons Warhammer 40,000 codex, and it seemed like a lot of you enjoyed it. I'm very grateful for that. And another thing that is also very cool is that I hit 25,000 subscribers here on my channel. I thought maybe that would happen next year in 2025, but it happened now during December, and it feels a little bit unreal. In my head, I'm still used to creating this content for myself. This is the kind of ASMR I am interested in myself, and that's why I enjoy making it so much. It's both my interest and my interest in ASMR. I usually don't use my green screen for recording videos unless it is gameplays, but I was actually thinking to start using it. I've been planning for my lore series that I've been talking forever about, starting off with. Maybe I can try doing it in the next year, but we will see. Now when I'm recording this, I can't see how the background turns out, but let's just cross the fingers that it will be okay. I just wanted to make this yearly recap chit chat with you and spending these final moments of the year with you. Earlier this year I got a hold of an item I've been wanting to show off in some shorts, but I wanted to show that in my apartment, in my new kitchen, but it's taking forever, so I thought, why not show it off now? It feels very fitting to this New Year's theme. It is massive in ceramic. And this is, let's see if you can see it as well. This is the Tankard of Terror from World of Warcraft. And this is an old item from 2007, I think. This collectible. And it usually goes for around $200 and up on eBay. And I managed to find this second hand for about $50. So I'm very happy about that. I was thinking about maybe having a drink out of this, but just look at this size. Man, I would be totally gone even before New Year's Eve. You know, when the clock is turning at 12, I would already be gone if I began drinking out of this. But it is so beautiful. I love finding special items like this for my home, for my gaming collection, and just, my nerdy interests. But let's get into the very personal and private part of this video. I thought it would be very nice starting off with some positives, counting my blessings for this year, for this channel, for my gaming collection and so on. I will not talk too much into detail, just for protecting my peace and protecting myself as well. As you might know, I took a month-long break from content creation because this year was very rough on me. I have not been doing too well. I've been dealing with a lot of sadness and just a lot of trauma. I laugh when I say it because I feel silly, but it's true. If you haven't seen, I put up this long post sharing in words because I think it's easier to write down your feelings than to actually speak them out and your experiences, where I opened up on Patreon about this year and what I've been going through. Feel free to pause the video and read it, the insert, or check out my Patreon. It is free as long as you are a non-paying member to read, because I really felt like I needed to share this with someone. I've been very lonely dealing with all of this myself, and it felt very good opening up, to be quite honest. If you have read the first part, then I would be very happy to leave it at that. I do not feel comfortable with sharing everything about my life, especially very private information like that. But when I got home to my parents, I was a complete wreck. I have been spending this last half year rebuilding my confidence, rebuilding myself, rebuilding my life. I left everything twice, and I lost everything as well. I wish I had the strength to talk a little bit more about it, but it's still too soon. But I started making very nice progress on myself, finding back to who I used to be and developing a new sense of self, maybe I should say. But then I went through this very rough situation again. I feel like it's very hard talking about this as a female content creator, since there are people that watch maybe my content for the fantasy or for the parasocial, and you don't want to hear these very personal parts of my life. Maybe it ruins the picture you have of me, but it might be good to share, especially if I have other female viewers, what kind of behaviors you should never accept and you should never stuck with. I wish I didn't make some choices that I made, and I wish I had prioritized myself a bit more during this last year. But after getting away from a very horrible situation, moving back home, being very fragile, I started dating a colleague, a person I had been previously working with for a couple of years, someone I really thought I knew, that I feel preyed upon me in this very fragile state already. was very, I told this person I am not interested in a relationship ever again. I would not ever want to date again. I'm not comfortable. I don't want that anymore. But this person kept pushing onward, like, I'm gonna be here until you change your mind. That is a very big red flag. If someone keeps pushing, it is not romantic. If you tell them no and they keep doing that, it's not romantic. They need to respect you. I'm sorry, this is very hard for me to talk about, but this person destroyed a lot of the confidence I built up in myself in a very, very short time. This was a very mean, controlling, and verbally abusive man as well. And I still am very afraid of men. When I feel pressured, I'm like a beaten animal. I just shrivel together and be like, I'm sorry, please don't be mad, I'm sorry, like crying my eyes out. It is very traumatic for me when someone gets upset at me, or just stares at me with cold eyes, or there are several different frightened behaviors that I show, and if you know, there are many women going through this. So thankfully this person broke off with me because I had not the strength to do so myself, but I felt so manipulated that I started again doubting myself. I got told over and over again how I was crossing boundaries, and I have never had this happen when someone has been upset and mad at me for crossing boundaries I didn't know were there, and I have never had a relationship where we talked boundaries like this is a boundary in that direct way. And getting told that I am the strange one, the weird one, the unhealthy one for not recognizing this behavior at the age I am made me very, very, very confused. So in just the 2 months period where I met this person and got, in a way, pushed into a situationship or dating, I kept a list on my phone. Whenever I was reprimanded for pushing a boundary, or yelled at, or lectured, or lashed out on for my own safety, because I didn't want to do anything wrong. Because I come from the experience that being pushed down or having been told that you are wrong all the time, you just buy that, you accept it, you don't question it. Because I really thought everything was my fault. I believed I was so rotten, I was so bad, I was so horrible that I deserved everything that happened to me. And that is not true. I could be a vile and horrible woman, and it still would not be okay to treat people violently in any way. I want to share with you some of these bullet points I kept in my phone for just the sheer comedy of it. Remember, I kept this list because I didn't want to do anything wrong, because I really thought there was something wrong with me, because how can I not be good to anyone? How can I be so awful that I deserve this? So I want to read you some of this, and remember, this is coming from an insane man. And these are all boundaries that I'm not allowed to cross. I'm not allowed to leave on red. Like if I'm telling you I'm going to bed and then not replying to the reply, that is very wrong. I have to answer all his texts even though I am busy. There is no excuse to say I will answer later. Very crazy. I am not allowed to turn off or put the lid on if he's upset at me and I tell him I can't do this anymore, can we have this conversation later? That's not okay. I'm not allowed to be too annoying or joke too much. I'm not allowed to have high energy because then I'm taking all his energy. These are everything he has said. I'm just laughing. This is crazy. I'm not allowed to question my capacity in the relationship. I am not allowed to say there are certain things I'm not okay with, because those are, what's the word for it? His demands. I'm not allowed to let things go and move on. You're gonna keep repeating the same shit all the time, the same discussions, and I'm not allowed to say, let's leave it at this. We are not coming forward with anything. I'm not allowed to talk in the morning. I'm not allowed to talk too much. I'm not allowed to be sad or upset because that gives him anxiety, and that is a very important boundary. Do not give this man anxiety. I am not allowed to make any comments about him, positive or negative, because that is very sensitive to him. I'm not allowed to tell other people that it's okay to make jokes with him, talk with him, chit-chat with him. I am not allowed to make him uncomfortable in any way. I asked him to follow my friends and me to a little gathering, just having drinks, talking, meeting each other. That was not allowed. That was crossing a boundary, because how could I ask this man to meet my friends, because that gives him anxiety, and that is me crossing a boundary. I'm not allowed to make jokes with him. My family is not allowed to make jokes with him. I am not allowed to get mad or raise my voice at him, because that is too harsh on him. And you can see me smiling. It's been a couple of months now since I got away from this person, but the sheer insanity, getting told I'm not allowed to get upset by a man that is continually screaming at me. Maybe you will start understanding why I've been having such a hard time these last couple of months, being happy, being myself, being comfortable with my own life. Oh, this is very good as well. I had a second time this written up. I'm not allowed to cry, because that is not acceptable. I need to go to therapy if I cry, because how could I do that to him? And the last point, I am not allowed to talk when he is tired. All of this, remember, happened within a 2-month period. I was very fragile and I was very open with my past, with what I left, with the trauma I actually have, the trauma responses I have, which is that I get very afraid of men and I start crying and shaking and just being like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I go into a complete lockdown where I'm just terrified, and I have been getting help, so I am working on that. But just dealing with the sheer madness of a man like this telling me it is my fault for making him that way, I did not recognize those patterns because I fell into the same old back. I fell back into the same mindset that I used to have, that this wouldn't happen if I didn't make him this way. It is my fault, it is my fault, it is my fault. And it is never your fault. Someone else's actions, that is. If they treat you bad, it's because they chose to treat you bad. It's not because you deserve it, you know? But one thing that really helped me getting myself back together was starting to look at this situation out of a more objective mindset. I found this very wonderful book. It is called Why Does He Do That? Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling Men by Lundby Barcroft. And this is a book that describes violent and abusive men, different types of men and their mindsets. And I got to one part in this book that just made my... It felt like I just turned to ice, because it was so clearly what this was for me. So there is a part in this book where the author that worked with a lot of abusive men talked about different archetypes of men and these personality traits of an abusive man. And this one, it just hit too close to home, and I started reviewing this in a different light. It is called the archetype Mr. Sensitive. He's soft-spoken, gentle and supportive when he isn't being abusive. He loves the language of feelings, openly sharing his insecurities, his fears and his emotional injuries. He hugs other men. He may speak about the absurdity of war and the need for men to get in touch with their feminine side. Perhaps attends a men's group or goes to a men's retreat. He has participated extensively in therapy or 12-step programs, or reads all the big self-help books. So he speaks in the language of popular psychology and introspection. His vocabulary is sprinkled with jargon like developing closeness, working out our issues, and facing up to hard things about myself. It is very much how this man was. Like, I know better than you because I am in touch with my feelings, and you are the one that needs therapy because you are not good, you are bad, there's something wrong with you, you need help. The following dynamics are typical of a relationship with Mr. Sensitive and may help explain your feeling that something has gone awry. You seem to be hurting his feelings constantly, though you aren't sure why, and he expects your attention to be focused endlessly on his emotional injuries. If you are in a bad mood one day and sense something unfair or insensitive, it won't be enough for you to give him a sincere apology and expect responsibility. He will go on and on about it, expecting you to grovel, as if you had treated him with profound cruelty. With the passing of time, he increasingly casts the blame onto you for anything he is dissatisfied with in his own life. Your burden of guilt keeps growing, and he starts to exhibit a mean side that no one else ever sees and may even become threatening or intimidating. You know, when I read this, everything just dawned on me that I am so blessed to get away from a person like this. He could from nowhere lash out on me, saying how I hurt his feelings in some way, and when I begged for forgiveness, he would be even more angry, telling me I cannot communicate. And what he wanted me to do was explain why I behave like this, why I thought it was okay to behave like this, what led up to me behaving like this, and what can I do to never have this happen again. And it could be something as, making a joke he didn't like. I could, tell him I'm too tired of something, or telling he like, why are you lashing out on me? Why are you yelling at me? And he would get so mad because how can I make this about myself when he's the tired one? I don't know. I was so afraid of this man. I remember the first time this happened, and we were 2 hours in a car where he just kept on threatening he would leave me because this doesn't feel good for me anymore. And I had to beg for forgiveness for getting upset that he was yelling at me. And for 2 hours I was told I cannot communicate, and the goalpost was moving every single time. When I told him there's nothing I can say to make this alright again, there's nothing I can do, you are just trying to punish me, he went totally nuts. And after all of this, there was days of silent treatment, like 2 days, 3 days, he would just disappear, and I had to continue being like, I'm so sorry for doing this to you. It is such a blessing getting away from violent people. But this incident took very hard on me, or rough on me. I fell back into the same patterns of being very afraid, being very frightened, and doubting myself. Thinking, if I didn't do this, if I didn't do that, if I just didn't cry, this wouldn't happen. And I've been working a lot with not blaming myself. There are a lot of people that are awful, and if they tell you there's something wrong with you, that just reflects on themselves. I've had to come to the realization that it is not normal to tell someone else these kind of things. That even if you are dating, you're meeting, you're in a relationship and you want to break things off, or you are upset, you're mad, you're having a fight, an argue, whatever, it is never okay to do this stuff to anyone. If you want to break things up, you do it in a normal way, and you just tell them, we are not compatible. So I have been doing better. I've had a lot of time to think this month I was away, and I'm starting to realize I am not the kind of person I have been fed with that I am. I'm not awful. I do not need any therapy to make myself good for a man. I have been doing really well this last couple of weeks, It's starting to get better and better each day, and I just wish to find myself again and not doubt myself or being gaslit like this, that there's something wrong with me when there aren't. I will see how much I am able to use of this content. It's very hard rambling about stuff you are not really comfortable talking about yet. Maybe it would have been easier to write this down, but it just feels very good sharing, explaining, talking about these crazy events. Like this year has been very, very awful, and I hope to never experience a year like this again. I also, during this time, dealt with issues at work that drove me crazy. I have been talking a bit about it on my Patreon, but right now it is actually nothing more happened. I had a coworker that went through some kind of mental health crisis. I don't know if it's like a psychosis, but it was a person that had issues with prescriptions as well, that turned up to work clearly over-medicated and started hallucinating stuff that were not there. and then started sending like these massive manifestos towards me and some other colleagues that we were following the devil, that we should follow this person because they are a god with a light, and you can hear it's very manic, very like you need help, you know. And I told this person it is not okay, I do not want to be contacted outside of work. These long messages, I'm not gonna read them, I don't want them, I need to block you if you keep sending them. And it just spun on. This person started sending threats, started having these really psychotic thoughts about me following the devil. This person trying to find other co-workers to spit me in my face, have been telling people to hurt me and other co-workers as well for doing this to this person. And I was so tired, I was so angry, I just screenshotted everything, sent it to ARch, you know, human resources, to the boss I have at my workplace, and I also like filed a police report because this was turning into something really not alright. We tried having meetings with this person, be like, we are here to do our job. This is nothing personal, but I do not want these messages anymore. Stop this. This is not okay. And this person went completely crazy. Started talking about finding hitmen to kill people, and I was very afraid for quite some time, you know, dealing with a person unstable like this. But it's easier to think about it that this is someone that is clearly very unwell and needs help. And in the end, this person got removed from our team and got put into a rehab plan. And I have not seen her since. It's been a couple of months now, and she just stopped showing up to work. So I really hope she got the help she needs. I hope she turns back into herself and sorts out these issues, because this was not okay in any way. But I am fine. I did not get hurt. I did not get spit on. There are no hitmans on me, you know, all this crazy stuff. So, a crazy year. So, that was this crazy year of my life. I feel like I'm having cold sweats when recording this video. It feels so weird talking about all this private stuff online and sharing this private stuff about my life. But I really hope next year will be a good year. I am planning on just being by myself, alone, healing, spending time knowing myself, because I don't really recognize myself any longer. I feel like a completely different person, and I think that is normal after stuff like this happening. It changes you and who you are, how you think, how you react, everything. And I just need to focus on being happy and being myself and being comfortable with who I am. Thank you so much if you watched this video so far. This has been very private information about my crazy life this year. Probably the worst year of my life, and I hope that nothing like this will ever happen again. I really appreciate you and for taking your time to watch this. I wish you all a happy new year, and let's cross our fingers that next year will be a good one. I love you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.